Okay, all right. Let's go ahead. Some people were removed because of the recording. They probably have rejected screen recording, but they need to accept it and rejoin. I hope they accept it and rejoin. Or they probably never set it up. Okay, Akowado Bafo is back. Welcome back, Bafo. Awesome. So, like I was saying, you interact with all this. You do it every day. Even the screen you're staring at, the mobile apps you're on, even the interfaces you interact with. Somebody had to sit down and design it. If you look around on your laptop or anywhere around wherever you are, you're most likely to see like a piece of paper, a piece of a document or some book, right? Sitting in there. Like we never really think about it, but all this is designed by someone. All these are everything that you come in contact with is designed by someone. Someone actually had to sit down and think about where the text is going to go, where the image is going to sit, how do we going to phrase the message and everything and make sure it looks good, right? Somebody had to do all of that. And so that is where you come in as a graphic designer, right? And it's a very incredible field to be in, you know. I can see in Ohimen's class that he's got a sorry, Nanaki's class that he's got this classroom posters over there. All of us can see it. Don't hide it. Can see it, right? I'm just kidding. And you can see all these posters. Somebody actually had to think about them and design them, right? All the ABC, all the beautiful things hanging in the class. Somebody had to think about them and design it. Somebody actually had to, sort of come to terms and sit down and say, okay, this is where everything is going to go and this is how everything is going to do, right? And some of us have tried our hands on design, but design is a very broad field and it's a very interesting field to be in. And without design, we wouldn't be able to make much sense of our world, right? It would be a very, very strange place to be without design. And design extends beyond everything. The building you live in was designed, the cars you see were designed, the book you read, everything, almost everything. Some of us are wearing designer clothing right now, like Nana K, beautiful class, right? So everything you interact with today is designed by someone, right? And your job as a graphic designer would be to focus on that aspect of design that has to do with putting ink on paper and interacting with colors and shapes and stuff like that, right? And it will go on a myriad of media, right? It could be two main media are digital media and print media, right? So print media will be the physical things you interact with, like your posters, your billboards, your the souvenirs that you get at events, the clothing that you print like names and company t-shirts and things like that on. Those will be your physical media, right? And then there's a digital media. Digital media again, digital um, billboards. You've got your laptop, you got your mobile phone, you've got social media and other platforms where some of these things will go, right? So your job as a graphic designer will be to focus on those areas, right? And we make the world run, right? We convince people to do the things they do. We enable businesses to actually function the way they function. Without a designer, communication would be very, very lengthy and very, very, very boring, right? However, um, there is one issue that we all have to contend with. There is one issue that we all have to talk about. The fact that you are an accomplished artist doesn't necessarily mean you are an accomplished graphic designer, right? And this brings us to the interesting question is graphic design art? And if it's not, what is the difference between graphic design and art, right? And a lot of people often will conflate graphic design with art because the media that it often occurs on are similar, right? So you could do a graphic design work on a piece of wood, or you could turn a piece of wood into an artwork. You could do a graphic design work on a wall, or you could paint graffiti on the same wall, right? You could do graphic design work on a huge board, or you could do some other thing on the same board. And so we tend to conflate graphic design with art. While there is some sort of artistic expression in graphic design, these two fields are vastly different, right? In certain other aspects. And these are some of the things that we will look at, right? In this course. I will remind you over and over and over and over that graphic design is not art, right? It's and we'll have to do that because whereas art is based on just the perspective of the artist and doesn't rely on other people's, expectations, graphic design is the very opposite. It's not just based on your perspective, but it also relies on other people's expectations, right? Whereas art is just an expression, graphic design is intentional and it has to have a goal, right? So somebody can get up and take a piece of banana, with a plastic bag, a banana peel and pin it to a wall. Say, hi, this is art. And when you ask them, they'll be able to interpret it to you and tell you what was going on in their own minds, right? And mostly, if you see an artwork, modern art, right? That ugly thing. If you're not in the room, right? Or if the artist is not in the room, it's going to be very hard for you to make sense of it, right? But again, art is interpreted. It means that anybody can to um, decide to represent that piece of art in their mind and what it means to them, however they want, right? That's the other side of art, right? Graphic design, however, is vastly different. It doesn't necessarily depend on you, even though your skill is involved, and it relies on people's expectations, and it requires that you meet those. Thank you. And it requires that you meet the expectations of those people, right? Which is also very, very important. So these are the things that we'll look at, right? And so let's draw some contrast between graphic design and art. And then I'll say a little bit more, and then Ken will continue, right? So if you take graphic design and art, right? Art is interpreted. It means that anybody can decide what art means to them, right? Graphic design is intentional, right? And art relies on the expression of the artist and doesn't require any expectations to be met. Graphic design, however, relies on perception of people and expects you to meet people's expectations. Also, um, graphic design has a specific goal. Every piece of design has a specific goal. Those of you who saw the billboards, some of the billboards you saw was introducing you to a product, right? Some of the other billboards you saw was inviting you to a church, right? Some of the other billboards you saw were selling you a product. Some of the other billboards you saw probably was sensitizing you, right, about the importance of women. See, some of the billboards you saw, they were all doing, each billboard was doing a certain specific thing, right? Art doesn't need to do that. Art doesn't need to have a specific goal, right? Art doesn't need to point to an audience, right? Which is one of the differences between graphic design and art. Graphic design itself also is a problem solving process, right? Graphic design solves a problem. So if I sell, say, hoodies, right, and I'm looking for new customers, right, I go see a graphic designer and I say, I want the craziest design that will bring me 5 million customers in 2 days, right? Now the graphic designer has to figure out how they are going to meet that expectation and how they are going to use their design skills to solve a problem. But I'm yet to see a graphic designer who will bring 5 million in sales to anyone, but I mean, that's possible, right? Um, like I said, art has a conclusive result, right? However, graphic design has a conclusive result. Art, on the other hand, has it's open to debate. Anybody can interpret it however they want, and that's fine, right? Um, Art is writing and performing your own story. Like I said, depends on the perspective of the artist. Graphic design does not, right? Um, Graphic design depends on collective acceptance. Art doesn't require that anybody accepts it, right? If people accept your graphic design, then that works, right? And I dare say that graphic design has a specific interpretation, right? Whereas art can have multiple interpretation. This is also one big example that I give in every class that I teach in graphic design, right? So here's a scenario, right? You and I walk out and we see a piece of art like a statue, right? Standing there, right? There's a statue just right behind me downstairs at the roundabout where I'm sitting. And it's like a boy and a girl holding a flame, right? And if we go stand by that statue and I ask you, what do you think the artist is trying to communicate, right? You'll be able to tell me, oh, he's trying to communicate the passion between a man and a woman, right? Because in this particular environment, there are a lot of men and women and they're holding flame, and the flame could represent passion and love and fire and whatever, right? And you can say any of those things and you'll be right, right? Nobody's going to punish you for it, right? Or you could say the flame represents knowledge, or the flame represents this, or the flame represents that. There's a burning love between them, and everybody would be right, right? But when it comes to graphic design, if you and I go stand in front of a poster, if Ken Kennedy designs a poster, and he's trying to design a poster to sell us something, and you and I go stand in front of the poster, and I ask you, what does the poster tell you? Say he designs it for a church, and what does the poster tell you? And one person tells me, say Rajia tells me, this poster says I should come to church, right? And the other person, oh, no, 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 no. Look how the pastor is frowning. This poster says he doesn't need you in his church, right? Or he's calling you a sinner or something else. Immediately, there's two different interpretations of the poster. That design has failed. It has failed to solve the problem of getting people to attend church, or it has failed to solve the problem of increasing church attendance, right? And that will be very catastrophic for Ken as a graphic designer, because then it means that he doesn't understand the objective of the design that he's working, right? So these are two things you should keep in mind, right? Design has a specific direction, specific interpretation. Art is open to interpretation. Anybody can interpret it however. So the next time you walk out and you see a billboard, you see a piece of design, and it can't bring you to the goal of what the design is intended for, or you can't seem to find a common interpretation with anyone. You can do this exercise. You see a billboard, you say, what do you think they're trying to do with a billboard? If it can't bring you to a common place where you all sort of have the same interpretation, then we fail. The designer has failed, right? And that is how you judge a piece of graphic design with. So that's what graphic design is, right? Now, in art, you could combine anything, right? Anything at all, and it will work fine. But in graphic design, we have, because it's a problem solving process, it's almost as much a science as it is an art, right? And so in graphic design, we have come up with a method, right? And a set of theories and a set of principles, right? And a set of elements that needs to be included in a specific way, right? In order to solve a specific problem, or in order to push a specific message, right? Which is very, very important. So as part of this course, we're looking at some of those graphic design principles, graphic design theories, graphic design elements, and how you can bring them together in order to solve a problem. On the theory aspect, we'll do things like design thinking. We'll do things like color theory. We'll do things like what do you call it? Graphic design principles and the theories behind them, and why we use certain elements and why we would use certain colors as opposed to others, right? And then we'll talk about the elements themselves. What are some of the things you see in a piece of graphic design work and why they are so effective, right? And their use cases. So at this point, I've mentioned a couple of things. I'm going to put the entire concept of graphic design together for you, and then I will leave you to Ken, and then Ken will continue from there, right? So with all that I've said, right? If you were asked to define graphic design, even though definitions may differ, these are some of the things you will see, or you will go something like this. Graphic design, right, is a process, right? And it's a process, both scientific and artistic, right? Because you need an artistic expression, but it's also as much a scientific process. And we'll talk about the psychology behind design as well. Why you design certain things in a certain way and it's more effective than other ways, right? So it's a process, both scientific and artistic process, right? Of combining a set of principles, right? Theories and elements, right? To create a body of work that is designed, right? To send a specific message, evoke, right? Evoke or generate a specific emotion, right? You want people to feel a specific way about your work, right? And cause the targeted audience to take a specific action, right? Because there's some graphic design work that is not just designed for you to have a piece of emotion, but to push you all the way to take an action. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to go over the um, definition again, and then Ken will take it up from there. Graphic design is a process, both scientific and artistic, right? That combines a set of principles, theories, and elements that is designed to evoke a specific emotion, right? That is designed to push a specific message and cause the targeted audience to take a specific action, right? So you see that I'm saying specific so many times because that's what a piece of graphic design work is. So you create a body of work using these theories and principles and elements, and then you want to evoke an emotion. You want people to take a specific action at the end of the day, right? Example: if I'm trying to tell you to stop child labor, right? Actually, let me look for um, a poster and share with you. I've not shared my screen all this while, and then I'll leave it to Ken, and I'll tell you why it's an effective graphic design work, right? Or you will tell me why it's an effective graphic design work. Let's see if you can find it. Give me a sec. I'm just finding it for you. Okay, here we go. Right. So look at this poster, right? It says against child labor, as you can see over here, right? Okay. I want you to look at the image in front of you and the design and what you see over there. I want you to unmute your mic and tell me. You can all tell me together, or you can all tell me one by one. When you see this kind of poster, what kind of emotion does it evoke? What kind of emotion do you get? Just unmute your mic and talk. You have to talk at a certain point in this class, so we might as well start now. Do you want me to mention names? Laura, how does it feel?
Sadness.
Yeah, Ferguson says it feels sad. How about Yvonne? How do you feel?
Same as well, sad.
Sad, right? Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
it's giving me
Yeah,
the same vibe.
exactly. The same vibe. It's so sad. Atamale. Sorry. Please, somebody has the hand.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
talk. Damien,
pictures is detailed, it's catchy. You can really see
it's
a
catchy.
child holding. Yeah,
Yeah, right? He's dirty, he looks poor, the clothing are torn, right? Okay,
yeah,
so
yes,
he's holding it. So you see a body of work, right? If you saw a body of work
yes.
and he was holding the same sign. Okay, all right. Let's say something else. So I show you this and it's making you sad. Does it make you want to do something about child labor? if you saw something like this, what action do you think you would like to take? Yeah, Damien, go ahead.
Okay. Probably educate or provide for the person. Educate
Okay,
the
all right,
parents on this.
awesome. So it makes you want to do something about it, right? I'm sure some
Yes,
people
please.
here will say, I want to punish the people that are putting the child through this. And I'm sure some people here will say, I want to rescue this child. Maybe that's the goal of the graphic designer all along, right? Maybe they're trying to get you to give that child or children who live in that condition, right? And even though this child, you don't know him from anywhere, he's probably an actor or a model, even, right? If he saw another child who is very close to you in the environment, it will still evoke that same emotion, and he'll probably be reminded of this and he want to do something about it, right? Specific actions, right? Maybe that's what the designer is going for. I'm going to ask you a question. Say you saw this poster, but this time around the child is wearing suit, right? Well fed. Because you see the way this child is scrawny and lean and dirty, right? Cleaned up, white teeth, smiling, well fed, and was holding the same poster. Would it change how you feel about the child? Would it change how you feel about the child? Oh, give me a thumbs up if you will. Okay, Bafo, you said it will change how you feel about the child. Can you tell me how it will change how you feel about the child?
Looking at the picture,
Yeah, if the
you
child
can
was different and
see
was wearing
a
suits
child
and
with
yeah,
torn clothes,
yeah,
and looking at his face, looks like they say he's angry or something. But
yeah,
if he's smiling with nice clothes, I mean, you think maybe he is the one advocating for someone.
exactly. Or you think, let me say this in I mean, oh dear girl, right?
Yeah,
Ex-
he's fighting against. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So he's full and now he's playing, right? That's what you think in such a situation. So the as a graphic designer, that will be your job. Your job will be to understand all these principles and all these elements and all these theories, behind it. See that even the colors that are being used, the brown colors, they are dull, they're if I had used some orange colors and everything, you might say, oh, your brain, even if you don't say, your brain might say, oh, this colors look so bright and they look so playful, right? And that will probably desensitize you to the entire situation. So look how gloomy the entire environment is. There's no highlighting, it's a bit dark. So as a graphic designer, you need to understand all of this in order to be able to be successful. And that's what we want to do in this basics course. You do a lot of practical work, but you would also do a lot of these theoretical stuff in order for you to get to the point. So those of us who have done some graphic design work, even some experienced graphic designers today, I mean, whereas when they're designing, intuitively they know what colors to put on and what to do. Sometimes we don't even understand why we're putting those colors on and why we're doing things the way we're doing them. We want to take this process and these stuff and break them down for you so you understand exactly what you're doing. So you can be intentional about your graphic design, right? So Ken, we'll talk to you about graphic design. Keep the definition I gave you in mind, and I'll put together some materials for you to look at. But keep the definition I gave you in mind. Ken will pick it up from here. He will walk you through the definition again, and then introduce you to graphic design elements and principles. He will just mention them in passing and just describe them briefly. And then the following class, we will look at graphic design elements in detail, right? And then we'll talk about them. And then he will do a lot of demonstration. If I can, I'll be in the class with you. But Ken is your main tutor. My job is to introduce you. And so you are officially welcome to this graphic design class. And Ken, please pick it up from here, and you guys have a wonderful time.
Okay, easy. Thank you so much. Can you hear me, guys? Hello.
Yeah, we
Okay,
can
I
hear
think
you. We can hear you.
yes. Thank you so much for joining today's session. We are in center, the main building. We have some people joining us. I have Michael with us, and Frederick. Yes, Frederick too is here with us. And today, Ezekiel has done a very good job trying to introduce to us um, graphic design. What is graphic design? What you must know as a graphic designer. When it comes to graphic design, is it doing some design and just from the word go, you calling yourself a graphic design? What really is graphic design? And I just want us to do a recap from the definition Ezekiel gave. I want to just know if most of us were following. Can somebody summarize what Ezekiel said when it comes to the definition for graphic design? Please unmute your mic if you want to speak.
Nobody remembers what I said, but somebody clapped for me. Please summarize the definition for him.
Okay, so me okay, so we will touch on that. Okay, I think Sydney raised his hand. Okay, Sydney, okay, you take it away.
You said there's a difference between graphic design and art. Said there's a difference between
Okay, so Sydney, take it again.
there's a difference between graphic design and art. That art, how should I say it, can be anything else. But you can just take, let's say, a banana and a rubber and just call it art, and can just explain it as how he sees it. But with graphic design, it's communicating to a target audience, and how should I say it, internalizing a sort of emotion in them, getting them to do something, like with the stop child labor art. It's getting them to try to advocate people to stop child labor. So that's what I think of this design is.
Okay. Yes, okay. Well done, Sydney. I think you had a lot of feedback, so some of us couldn't follow. But all the same, we will take it from here. So, yes, just as Ezekiel said, okay, I have, is it Radia? Am I pronouncing the name right? Forgive me if
Yes,
I don't
yes.
get the name right.
The
It's
name is
right, right?
right. Yes.
Okay, okay.
So
Take.
to summarize all that Izzy said,
Mm,
graphic design is the art and practice of creating visual content to communicate messages.
mm. Well said, well said. Let's give her a thumbs up. Let's give her a thumbs up. Very good. So that is somebody would say $1 million question, right? What is graphic design? It seems my screen is not presenting. Why? Okay. So that's the $1 million question. What is a graphic design? So basically, to make things simple, the term graphic design is or can be split into two, right? So we have graphic, then we have design, right? So this is where we look into what especially when it comes to graphic, the visuals, right? What catches your attention? Billboards in town. Sometimes, most of the times, it is not the information on the billboard. It is the imagery. It is the colors. It is the expression, the acts that we see on the billboard that draws our attention first. Then our minds or our eyes start glooming over the billboard, trying to look for further information. So the first point of contact is graphic. What is attracting food, right? And when we look at that, we are looking about the visuals, right? We are looking at the paintings, lettering. Sometimes it is intentional. Graphic designers would intentionally bolden some text. They will make it very big, some very small. It's all intentional. They are trying to make sure they get your attention, wrap your mind back to the design so that you can further know the information they are trying to voice out to you. So in graphic design, we have the first part, the graphic, which I said is visuals. Then the second part is the design element or the design portion, right? I mean, seems so. Okay. So we have the design. Now, when it comes to the design part, this is a whole thing about psychology, right? Ezekiel was saying that it's psychology plays a huge role when it comes to design. And this is what we are trying to say. We are looking at your decision. What went into the design? Why did you place this image here? Why did you place this text to the left or to the right? Every designer must have a reason why they come to a conclusion of designing, positioning, arranging some elements on a particular flyer or a particular billboard or a particular screen. It is the point where we decide upon the look, right? So when we are attracted by the visuals, then we are coming to look at where it is positioned, why it is positioned, what it stands for, what is the function, what is the purpose, right? And all these things are thoughts. They go through a thinking process, right? With the intention of solving a problem. And if you clearly remember when Ezekiel was taking us through the introduction, he said that design solves a problem. At the end of the day, we are trying to solve a problem. We are trying to communicate. And the illustration he gave with the young boy holding that card with inscription on it, there is a problem they want to solve, but in an imagery way. And images communicate very fast. That is why the media team is one of the the platform that is thriving in the world. A lot of people respond quickly to the media. That is why you have your phones in your hands and quickly you jump onto TikTok, you quickly jump on IG. All you are trying to do is you are trying to look for the latest information. You are trying to be entertained. You are trying to get what is happening, the latest trending thing in town. All these things are trying to let you know that a problem has been solved before anything or before social media wasn't in town or wasn't in the picture. You would have to hear it from a friend who was informed from another friend. But now, because of social media and because of images on social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, all you have to do is to just post. you tag somebody and it goes very far, a problem has been solved, right? And all this thing draws down to design. Design must at the end solve a problem. So the first thing is graphic stands for visuals. The second thing is design must include decision, or yes, decisions. What took you, or what was the decision process? What was the problem you are trying to solve? What was the thinking process you went through, right? All these things, trust me, when your design is ready and it's out there, you don't have to be positioned by your design to explain to somebody that, oh, this is what I was trying to mean. But your design should be able to communicate with or without you. Is that okay? And that is where the problem has been solved. So it is not you designing, you posting, and that is it. So you should know that graphic design is a whole different thing on its own. Okay, I have Hillary. Hillary, you've raised your hand.
Yes. You're saying graphic design is basically complete. You're not using words, you're using visuals, images, lines, objects. I guess you're right.
Okay, thank you very much, Hillary, for the question. I don't know if most of us heard her, but she was trying to ask whether all that I was saying is that graphic design entails imagery and not what? Less text. Now, graphic design is an embodiment of all these things. But the first point of call that attracts a viewer to a design is okay. So Ezekiel has answered that question. So I'm trying to say that the first point of call that the design is trying to make is to first draw attention. You see, Ezekiel raised up a point evoking emotions, and he cited with that picture. Imagine I'm saying child abuse, but I'm using a child that is smiling and happy. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't, relate. That is what we are trying to say. You can use image, it will say the same thing. You can use image and text, it will say the same thing. But at the end of the day, make sure you are in the right frame at attracting the viewer, communicating the right things to the viewer with your elements on your design, basically. So in order not to get you guys confused, let's move on and let me touch on my definition of what graphic design is. You know what? Okay. So this is my definition of graphic design. And as simple as it looks, it just encapsulates these things: information, organization, presentation, craftiness or craftsmanship, and purpose, right? So graphic design is information organized and presented in a crafted way for a specific purpose, right? So we are trying to inform our viewers. Let's say there is an information that we have to reach out there. It's time for voting. It's time for voting. And we are trying to communicate to the people of Ghana or the people of your country, Nigeria, wherever you are. We are trying to communicate that go out there and vote, right? We can represent this thing in many ways. We can represent it with image. We can represent it with image, text, alongside. We can represent it in many other forms. At the end of the day, we are trying to inform the viewer, right? The next point is organize. Organize. We are trying to, the fact that we have information to share doesn't mean that we should choke the viewer with a lot of information. I see designs in town where they want to put everything on the design. Trust me, that is, the mind literally doesn't pick a lot of things at a glance. So right now, designs are moving to this notion where less is more. We are trying to create room for the eyes to focus on a particular area on a design. So when it comes to design, how you organize your things on your design matters, right? How you organize your things on your design matters. So take it, for instance, a newspaper, right? You will realize that once you have the newspaper in your hand, everything is organized. From the title, the head title, it is bolded. Then you have images, you have subtext. They're trying to tell you that, yes, we have information for you for free, but we want you also to focus on these things one at a time. Not everything, clustered together. If, imagine you see a design and the design is clustered, the design is, jumped into it. There's no padding, there's no spacing, everything is just clustered. What will you do? Imagine it is on the internet, on TikTok, on IG, your social media platform, your favorite social media platform. What will you do? Hello, guys. So I'm asking a question. Imagine you are on social media, you are on Facebook, you're on TikTok, IG, Twitter, and somebody has posted a flyer with information. And the informations, they are, clustered, they are so much. You can't read, but yet the person has posted it. For you as like individual person that has chanced on that flyer, what will be your first thing you will do? What will be the first thing you will do when you glance or when you meet that? Okay, I have one. Is it Avoca?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Okay, what will be your first decision?
First, I'll first insult the person that is the designer of that poster.
You will first do what?
I'll first insult the designer of that poster for a poor job done.
Wow, you broke in my heart because I'm a fellow designer.
I'm aware, but it's a poor work, so I have to insult him first.
I know, right? I know, right? Okay, thank you for your submission. Is there any other person? What will be on your first expression when you see, I don't want to say a bad design, I just want to point out that the information is clustered, it's all over the place, right? It's difficult to read, but yet the person has posted it. What will be your first thing or first expression? I just want to take the last person, then we move on. You are now saying it. I think Avoka just brought another submission. He said that he will skip, and that is what happens. That is what happens on social media. Skip. When you're not interested in a particular design or a video, what do? You skip, you swipe, you move on. That is what happens. But that is not your purpose as a designer. Your purpose as a designer is to grab attention, evoke the person's emotion. That is why you have designed. And at the end of the day, if you're working in corporate environments or you're working for organizations that are looking for revenues, let's say you've designed a poster to maybe the company is doing a promotion on their product, and the design is out there and people are not responding to it. You are failed as a designer, right? You failed as a designer. You're not bringing revenue to the company, right? There's a question mark on you. So you would have to revisit your design, redo what you have to do, and make sure you analyze how people respond. And that is what we are talking about. It's information that we have to organize it and present it. And in presentation, everything matters. Alice, text, positioning, everything matters. And when you are presenting your design, it has to come in a crafted way. You have to come with a skill, right? You have to be skillful at it, because at the end of the day, you are trying to get to a point, a purpose. You are trying to achieve a particular purpose. Okay, so let me touch on one of the things we will look at is the key principles of design, right? Now, every design you will see out there, one or the other is using a particular key principle, right? So let me share that. Oh, sorry. One or the other, all designs out there on your favorite platform is using one of these, key principles. So they are 8 in number. So we have contrast, hierarchy, alignment, balance, proximity, repetition, simplicity, and function. These are key principles that every designer must, take into consideration. You just don't design anything because you feel like. At the end of the day, you are trying to get to a particular purpose, or get to a purpose, getting people's attention, bringing revenue. Purpose can be many things, right? So graphic designers look at these key principles. We'll touch on them another time, but I just wanted to brush over it. Contrast, hierarchy, alignment, balance, proximity, repetition, simplicity, function. So imagine whether sometimes you get to a design, and the background color is overshadowing the text. That is where contrast comes in. You have to, as a design, know how to blend things for people to view your design, right? Contrast. You're looking at hierarchy. What are the most important things on your design? Hierarchy. What are the most important things, and how does it travel? The most to the least. What are the things you want us to know, right? The first time we chance on your design, right? And that is hierarchy. Alignment. Alignment matters, because sometimes when things are flying around on your design, the brain gets dull. Some people's brain cannot take too much information. And psychology has taught us, or one of the things I know about the brain is that the eye reads from left to right, down to the middle, to the end of the sheet, and to the latter end. So it is like a Z format. So it starts like that, starts from the first glance to the second, to the end of the flyer. So let me use my cursor as a illustration, right? Look at my cursor. So once this thing happens very fast, so you don't pay attention, right? once you see any design, your eyes have quickly looked at it, right? And this is how your eyes focuses on images or informations on designs. It starts from the left, moves to the right, comes to the middle, then to the end of the design, the bottom of the design, and back to this side. So it's a Z kind of movement. That is how your eye reads informations on anything or any design. Now, that is why we are trying to say these key principles must be observed. Hierarchy, how you position things. Now, when you look even at my presentation here, I have graphic design basics. Position to your left. It's intentional because I know that the first glance is to the left. Now, somebody will say that, so does it mean that every time I have to position things to the left? No, right? But you can be skillful in positioning things that will grab attention. And grabbing attention can be in many ways. You can grab attention by bolding the text, making it very huge. One of the things that is grabbing your attention here is this element, this line thing, right? It's one of the things grabbing your attention. So in many ways, you can grab attention. When we're looking at hierarchy, how we want the people to, know what the information that is on the design from the top to the bottom when it comes to positions, right? So let's say there is a design for a poster for a pizza. Then we write on the pizza, grab a bite today. So from today, when you're walking in town, watch things around, watch billboards, ask yourself, why did they design it this way? Look at the hierarchy, look at the text. Sometimes when you look at some of the posters very carefully, you would understand why the designer did it that way. They're trying to grab your attention to a particular information first, then to this, then to that, then to that. We will touch on these key principles further in our next session. Is that okay? Okay, so I've touched on graphic design. Let's look at one of the visual elements. So every design has an element that blends into it, that makes a design a design. There are a lot. One of them that we are going to touch on today is line. As simple as it looks, you would think that it's not important, but trust me, it is very important. Lines help us to structure things and to compose things on a design. It also helps us to keep things in a frame when we are looking at informing people. The other thing line can help us is to help us divide information into sections, right? So I touched on hierarchy, right? Line can help us, add depth to hierarchy and emphasizes to hierarchy, right? And the last thing I'll touch on line is line help us to decorate and to draw the eye to a specific point. So line matters on a design. So sometimes you will see that a particular design would have a small line, a thin line. It's not as if the designer wants to do some ketchup, that is why he has placed it there. It is intentional. It's either the designer is trying to, compose things on the design, structure things on the design, or divide things on that design. That is why he has introduced a line. So anytime you want to structure things, divide things, draw attention, draw the eye to a particular point or a specific point on the design, you can invoke this visual element called line. Is that okay? Okay, so let me jump to and demonstrate, because one of on our timetable we said we would do the theory, then we will do a demo, right? So I think it's time for the demo. So I'll do some few demos and some practices. I'll give you an assignment. Try your hands how best you can. Is that okay? Okay, so let me share this screen. Give me a minute. Okay, let me share the entire screen. Okay. I guess you can see my screen now, right? Okay. So guys, yes, from the beginning, everybody was, asking what software are we going to use, a whole lot. We are going to use Photoshop, right, for the beginning, but I'm going to use Figma, which is an online tool, for the demo, right? As time goes on, when we start the practical session, Easy and I will take you through Photoshop. We'll do some designs as projects so that you would come up to speed when it comes to graphic design. Is that okay? So don't be in a hurry to know what software we are going to use. What you need for the start is to be conversant with the key principles, the visual elements, understand graphic design as a whole, so that when you are designing, you know what you are doing. Is that okay? So some people have the skill, they know what to design, but they don't know why they are designing it. So if you question them today, they can't even defend their design. And that is the whole reason why we are doing this thing, trying to educate everybody on this thing called graphic design. So let me draw your attention to this one, this first design. Okay. Now, looking at this poster, it's using a lot of elements, but one of the elements that we said we will touch on today is line. Now, this is where, or this is how you can use line. Now, when you look at what this designer has done, he has divided the design into sections or into segments. And he has divided the information or grouped them into one particular point. And all that he's trying to do is to draw your attention or your eye to a particular point on the design. So we have 1, 2, 3 lines, and the lines are in this shape or depth for a reason, right? They are in this depth for a reason. And so you have these texts at the top and these texts here and this imagery here, and that is it. And that is it. Now, this design is very clean, not plastered. It's saying what that designer wants you to know. And when I was touching on hierarchy, this is a good example of hierarchy. The text, the New York, is the first point to draw your attention. Okay, so you see it, you are like, oh, New York. So maybe it's going to talk about New York. Your mind captures it. Then you would want to read further or go deeper to know what this design is talking about. That is where you will start paying attention to this smaller text, right? So we are looking at this design. It has lines, It is partitioning the information, it's dividing the information into sections, it is grouping them into sections. So we have the top, the middle, and the latter end of the design. It has been partitioned. Let's look at this one. This is another example, right? A huge image at the top. It is even bleeding to the end of the design or the frame. It has a bold text, a line, and informations at the bottom, and a thick line at the bottom. Okay. Now, let's look at this one. This one is what I want us to really look at. Now, this is a whole thing, but I said one of the things lines can do is to help us, apart from drawing our attention, is to be creative, right? So this is how you can be creative when it comes to using lines. It says, we like colors. That's what the poster is saying, right? And this is the best way the designer can describe the colors. And he's using line, but in a curly way with colors, right? With colors. And the information is clear. You're talking about colors. The eyes wants to see colors and is seeing colors. It's simple. You don't have to get a lot of colors at the background, getting the user confused, the viewer confused. Just make your life simple. Be skillful, be smart about how you present your things, but at the end of the day, try and inform your viewer. It's as simple as that. And this thing is one of my favorite design, because it's saying a lot of things, but it is doing lesser things at the same time, right? We like colors. Some people would have, introduced emojis. Some people would have introduced the hats, icons and stuff. But hey, you can use whatever you want to do, but make sure at the end of the day, you are communicating and you are not confusing the viewer. Okay. Last on our row is this guy. This guy is what every designer, this is where every designer wants to get to. Putting images here, making things skillful, tasty. My Ezekiel will say sexy, this is where every designer wants to get to, getting the right images, getting the right fonts, putting things at the right places, communicating, but mind you, know what key elements to introduce and why, how to use it, when to use it, and your life will be very simple. Now we have on this poster, it is art exhibition, and the art exhibition is trying to inform you that first, apart from it being an art exhibition, it is going to be hosted on a particular day and at a particular place, and it is free. So as a graphic designer, sometimes if you have a client, the client will come to you, oh, I want a poster design. I want it to, we are an art studio. We want to have an exhibition on a particular date at this venue, and we want to tell our people that it is free. Now, with this description, it is a lot. Does it mean that you have to put everything on it? That is where your job or your position as a graphic designer, your skill is needed. You have to be skillful in translating what your customer or your client came to tell you into a well presented format for the client. At the end of the day, you are trying to gain or trying to reach a particular purpose, and that purpose is people attending this exhibition. Imagine, let's say, well, it is free, but you have to sign up using this QR code, and you don't add the QR code. At the end of the day, you've wasted the opportunity. You have the company will lose a great chance of bringing people on board to visit the venue, because you didn't cite the all the information is there. So you have to be very mindful when it comes to information, how you will present them. So when you look at this poster or flyer, you realize that on a scale of hierarchy, art exhibition is the largest or is the boldest. Then the next bold text is the date, 20th to 26th December 2024. Then the next place is the infinite beauty. Then the venue. Many artists will anticipate. And all these things, you realize that they are bringing some small lines in there. One is for decoration, two is for framing an information or positioning an information, grouping a particular information in a particular section on your design. So that is one of the essence of a line. So quickly, let me jump on, right? Let's look at the types of lines, right? Let's look at the type of lines. So let me hide this. Okay. Let me use paper or sheet. So let me use this A4 sheet as the canvas for designing our lines. So we have different types of lines, and it comes in depth or thickness, right? The first line that we should consider is the thin line. So we have thin line, we have thick line. This one can be done or achieved when you increase the depth or the thickness of the line. Then we have bold lines. So bold lines are very huge. In fact, they are in your face, right? And these are intentional, they are for a reason. Now, when you look at our previous design, this one, you realize that there's a thick, bold line at the bottom. What is it trying to say? It's trying to say that from this design, wherever you see this line, it is the end of the design. It is giving you the end or the end demarcation of the design. So it means that after this line, there is no design. Do you get it? And it's intentional. Your mind will understand it this way, but you won't pay attention to it. And you ask yourself, so why won't I focus looking at this section and I'll be looking at the top? The reason is your mind has captured that beyond this thick line, there's nothing there. When you look at these other lines, they are thin lines. They are trying to tell you that after this point of line, there is an information which must be paid attention to. It's a thin line. So that's the reason why it is a thin line. It is like we will give you access to this portion of view, basically giving you access into this point of view for you to have the access to the information. So it has grouped that with a big, huge font, Los Angeles. Then after that line, you have further text there, still giving you access to text. So imagine that you are designing and you bring a thick line here and you bring another thick line here. What you are trying to say is that this information is different from this guy. Now, when you say thin line here, you're trying to say that beyond the thin line, there's further information. And that further information is connected to the previous information, basically. So that is the reason or the thought process that went into this design. So when you are designing, this is where your thoughts or your thinking process will come to bear, in case you are invoking this visual element called line. So line is not just you drawing a line on a design and that's it. It has to have a meaning. It must be invoked for a purpose, right? Okay. So we have thin line, thick line, bold line. Then we have the dashed line, right? Let me demonstrate that with this. So most of you have seen this line somewhere before, right? With some breaks in it. It has a reason. It's not there to just beautify or decorate a design. Okay. Then we have, there's another sort of line apart from the dotted line. You see, some of the dotted line or the dashed line, this is in a form of square, right? We have the rounded versions, like, let me use like this. It also has a particular information or what it's trying to address. So mind you, everything on a design would invoke a key element, a visual element. There is a purpose to it, why we are using it. We just don't wake up and just use it. Now, these dots lines, most of the times, they are used to kind of give what is it called? A grouping. So I have this, let me bring it here. I have this image to demonstrate. Let me show you. Okay, I think this is the guy. This is an image for a website. So most of you that are interested in website designs and stuff. So mind you, they are also using lines here. They are using it to decorate and they are using it to group. If you can see from this image, right? You can also use this same design, the thin line, and you can change it into the dashed line. But what it won't mean the same. It means two different things. It means two different things. I like this style. I think most of you will see some designs online. So when you visit websites, you see that the menus have been positioned a particular way. It has a line. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you see one line, bottom line there. Hilary and Co, who normally do front end. Have you asked yourself why you put a line beneath the menu bar, like yes, that menu bar. Sometimes you have one thin line there. You've not. Most of the time you follow the design, you code it, and that is it. No, it has a meaning. It has a reason. It's trying to tell you that it is like there are doors in this place. The fact that there is a door doesn't mean that every door is accessible. Imagine that you are trying to enter into this place and I lock the place. It is a door, but it has been locked and you just can't have access to it. That is what he's trying to say. So he's trying to say that, yes, there are informations that have been grouped, but the fact that it is informations there, they are positioned a point in a way that I want you to focus. So I want you to focus on some things. I want you to not focus on some things. So the dotted line, most of the times, apart from decorating the design, I'm trying to tell you these are not so important, right? So I can put the dotted line around it, this image, right? I can put it around this image. And it's trying to say that it's not so important, but it's there to, add depth to the design. So you don't focus on it, move to the next thing. But then once I am grouping with a thin line, I'm trying to say that, hey, this is important, pay attention. Do you get it? And mind you, even on this design, they are using thin lines. Nowhere there is thick line. You are not seeing any thick line somewhere. Am I like, yeah. Okay. Does anybody have any question? Maybe there's a question flying through your mind. Maybe I'm just talking. Does anybody have a question to this point? If you have a question, please raise up your hand and you can voice out. Let me do my best to address that question. Very soon we'll be done. Does anybody have any question from what we have touched on from the beginning? What a graphic design is, our key elements, our visual elements. Michael, do you have a question? Okay.
Is it always like a must that every artwork, every design should have a line? Is the line like the most important element you should find in every design? Or you can also maneuver your way to other elements. So have your message like invoked.
Okay. So Michael is trying to ask that is the line the most important visual element to consider anytime you are trying to design maybe a flyer, a poster, a billboard, what have you? Is a line the most important visual element you have to consider? I would say yes and no. Yes and no because, as I said, line is one of the visual elements. And we have several visual elements. We have shape, we have colors, we have text, we have okay, when I remember the few, but we'll touch on that as time goes on. Today we are looking at line. Now, I'm trying to say that line is one of them. And these are the reasons why we use the line, in case we want to use it. So in case in your design, I don't know if somebody here has such experience, but from my experience as a designer, sometimes I've designed, I have the information there, sometimes in text, in images, everything is there. And I feel it is not complete. You would have that feeling that no, it's not complete. There's something you have to do to the design not to spoil everything, but to put like the icing on the cake, right? You have to put the last patch on it to make it complete. Now, these are the visual elements that you can consider: lines, right? Images, texts, colors. So, in case you want to consider using one of these visual elements, know why you want to use it. That's all I'm saying, right? And lines, most of the time, you are trying to, apart from decorating, you are trying to group them into frames and sections. You are trying to divide them, right? So consider them that this is what I want to do. I want to divide my design or divide the information, right? That is where you try to use lines. Yeah. But apart from that, you can use any other visual elements. Yeah. Is that answered? Are you okay? Okay. Please, does anybody have any question? Any other question? Is there any other question, please? Okay, guys in-house, do you have any question? For now, you know. Okay, let me go online. Laura, do you have any question?
No, please, I'm okay. I just have a concern, but then I don't think it's much of a concern, so I'll just keep
You
it
can
quiet.
bring it up. If it's not much of a concern, we would.
Okay, so me as a designer, right? After invoking all the elements and creating a masterpiece for a client, I'm the one who did it. So I know the element I used and I know its meanings. A client doesn't care much. Yes, is how aesthetical it is.
It is, yes.
So why am I to focus on these line elements and the rest when the actual purpose is just to make a beautiful outcome of my intuition?
Yeah. Yes. This is a good question too. So you had a good question and you were quiet. Okay. Just as you said, you are the designer, you have designed, it is out there, you are, but for lack of better words, you don't owe anybody, right, explanation to what you have designed or why you invoke a particular visual element. But this is what you have to understand. These visual elements that we are touching on as designers have been tested, right? And has been proven that one of the things that work on designs is psychology. And psychology has taught us that everybody has his own thoughts. You cannot stop somebody from thinking anyway, right? Everybody has his own thought on how he thinks. So make sure you are in between satisfaction when it comes to thinking or thoughts. But this thing that we are trying to talk about is considered in the minds of people. You only know it because I am introducing it to you, but your mind understands it. It is like a computer. You tell the computer, I'm typing so and so. My name is Kennedy Ofosu. That is what you've typed on your keypad, right? But the computer quickly analyzes that on this key that you have clicked, you are clicking K, you are clicking E. So that is the brain section that you don't see. That goes on behind the background. So in people's mind, they already, have a graph of or have a hold of why these elements are there. And at the end of the day, it's trying to satisfy their looks or how they look at things, right? It is trying to satisfy how you present things. So imagine that, oh, you have designed, you haven't introduced any visual elements. Trust me, your design will be very blank. Because one of the design visual elements is text. So imagine you claim that you are a designer, you have designed with no text. One of the visual elements you have to consider is images, shapes, how you position an image, the particular shape or style of the image. So the reason why we bring this visual elements is to make it presentable. But in the viewer's mind or in the person out there that is seeing it, the person's is satisfied in their mind. That is where we look. That is one of our heart desires, right? We are trying to make it presentable. So you don't have control over what people think, but make sure you please their thoughts by presenting something nice, but in a meaningful way. Simple. Laura, is that okay? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Yvonne, do you have any questions?
No, please.
Okay. Let me move to Akua.
No, please.
Okay, Ferguson.
No, please. Thank you.
Okay. It seems everybody is saying no, please, no, please, no, please. Okay. Last, let me pick. I think my friend is here, Prince. Prince, do you have any question? Or there's something bothering you, like any thoughts running through your mind whilst maybe you were presenting some, some thoughts came through and you weren't, okay, you wanted to ask. Is something like that? Do you have something like that? Okay, I think Prince is talking, but you cannot hear him. Okay. Okay, Prince, I can hear you now. Can you come again? Okay. So let's do something, right? Let's demo maybe this or this, right? And one of the things I would inform you is that with these sessions, you would have to be ready to be able to learn, practice, right? One of the things I got to know what I'm doing today is through practice. Don't be scared when you make mistakes. Sometimes your mistake can be the good thing out there or can be beautiful out there. So once it is a mistake, bring it here. Let's look at it. Let's try and help you rectify the issue, and you would have a strong hold on graphic design. Is that okay? Okay, so let's do something. We have some few minutes to 6. We'll end by 6. Okay, let's design this simple. Okay, let me. I wanted us to pick something else. So, guys, I have few platforms I can introduce to you as fellow designers. You can go there, you can visit that place. You can get inspirations from that place. One of the things I normally do is go to these places, try and look what others are doing. Try and ask myself, can I do some? If not, hey, I ask for help. I ask for mentorship, and that is how we learn, right? That is how we learn. So one of the platforms is called Dribble, like a football player dribbling on a pitch, right? Dribble, DRIBB. So the B is a triple B, BBBLE, not the average dribble, right? So when you get there, this is a huge platform for graphic designers. Every graphic designer on the planet Earth is there. Trust me, from illustrations to was it poster designs to web design, everything is here. The next place is, my next favorite place is called Pinterest, right? Pinterest. So you have a whole lot of designers on this platform too. And trust me, if you need some place to be inspired, this is the good place to be. The other place you can visit is called Behance. Behance.net. So this is another huge marketplace for designers, very huge. You can type anything on any design, right? And you would have it here, right? So let's say flyer, posters, you have it here. You have a lot to be inspired from. So let's go back. Let's try and surf through, right? Look at what we can do with lights, right? I like this guy. He's using line. Well, some people will use shape for this, like a rectangle, like a square for this. Just draw it up. It doesn't matter. Once it is achieving your purpose, say you go along with it. So look at this one too. Nice design. I'm looking for some that is in context to line. Let me see. Okay, this have a lot of information. You don't have that information yet. And yes, this is another good example to demonstrate line. What is it called? CV. Yes, CV. So CV designs to have a lot of lines being considered. CV design. So you have a lot of these digital CVs, that people have on their platforms. You would have it having a lot of lines, even this one that you can see here. Okay, so if you don't mind, we can try something like this. It's not bad. Shall we? Okay, let's do something here quickly. Okay, so let's get it down onto our machine and let's try and do something fast before, it's almost time. God. Okay, so let me pull up the framework for social media. Let's do no, this one is Instagram. Okay, let me increase it. Yeah. So guys, just be around. Let's do this together. Right. And look at how I invoke these key elements. Right. It's just a simple design, not much. So we have our image. We have our text here, we have our text here, we have our lines, we have lines partitioning our information. So quickly, let's get our line here, right? Partition this place. Okay. Oh. Let's try and let's hope that this guy is not straight. Yeah. Okay. Still long. Okay, so okay, so line. Let's get the colors. Is that our color? Good. Okay, so this is our thin line. Let's work with our next thick line. Maybe what we will be able to achieve today because of time is trying to get the frame, like the framework ready. Maybe the information won't be able to type everything. So let's try and do something. So yeah. So let me get our thick line ready for this guy. Okay, change that to that. Duplicate to that. Okay, in the background to that. Then we have our first thick line, right? Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so let's duplicate this one. Why are you moving? Why lock it? Oh, the reason is this guy's out. So we have our line. Where is it? Okay. Oh, okay. It's out. It means that colors are not working. Okay, so let's get it out. We'll fix it. So we have our first thick line ready, right? Let's group it. Let's duplicate it. Larry, are you watching? Okay, so let's get it here. That will be okay. So we are done with this. We are done with this. Where's the cursor? We are done with this. We are done with this. Let's do this and let's do this dots line. Right. We'll come and do something about the image. So let's go here quickly. Okay. So now let's do another thick line. Trust me, you'll get here very soon, right? One of my tricks is that sometimes I don't know what or how to design some things. What I do is I go and train my brain, just as I don't know how many of you use AI here. One of the things you have to, be good at, it's not only going on this AI platform and telling AI that do this thing for me, do this thing for me. Sometimes it will do it, but it won't get it in that particular way you want it. So the first session is you have to train it right? Tell it how you want it, where you want it, sort of that. So it's the same thing with our brain. Before any design or in your free time, be watching nice designs. Go on the internet, scout these lines or platforms I'm giving you. Go there, go and get influenced, go and get inspired, right? The more you watch these things, the more you get excited. And trust me, design moves with passion. When your passion goes down, you would easily run out of this race. And we always must be in that mood. You have to be in that, passion mood of I can do it, this thing is possible. Have that readiness to learn, don't be scared. If you are scared, trust me, you always run away. But take the bold step. And passion always breeds room for creativity. The more you are passionate about something, the more you want to spend time for that. Oh, our time is up. 6 o'clock. God. Okay, guys. I think we'll end today's session here, right? Next time we have is when do we have our next session? Is Wednesday, right? Wednesday, same time. So we'll do theory again. Then we'll do a demo, a practical on that. Hi, you're welcome. Okay, you have something to say? Okay, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Ken, please, is it possible to share the program outline with us, like the course outline, the topics? So if we want to maybe read ahead, we can do that.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I will share it on the Telegram page. So you have access to the slide if that is what you're asking for. Is that okay? Queen Mel, is that okay?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll share that right after we end tonight's session, so that you can go and read more on that. In our next session, we'll continue with these things. We'll build upon it, right? We'll do more demo, like what we're about to do, but our time is up. We don't want to exhaust all our time or go beyond 6 o'clock. Some people in here want to get back home. So thanks so much for joining our first session, the graphic design session. I would see you guys again on Wednesday, 4 p.m. same time. Please don't forget to come early. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll end here. Okay. Bye for now.